मदाशात्यागिनं नित्यं मदाशात्यागिनं नित्यं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। यज्ञकर्त्रे नमस्तुभ्यं यज्ञरूपपरिवर्तिने यज्ञकर्त्रे नमस्तुभ्यं यज्ञरूपपरिवर्तिने ज्ञानयज्ञस्य जनकाय ज्ञानयज्ञस्य जनकाय वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। सद्गुरवे नमस्तुभ्यं चिन्मयमार्गप्रदर्शिने सद्गुरवे नमस्तुभ्यं चिन्मयमार्गप्रदर्शिने सत्श्रद्धापूरितं येन सत्श्रद्धापूरितं येन वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। नमः शान्ताय सिद्धाय जनसेवाव्रतयोगिने नमः शान्ताय सिद्धाय जनसेवाव्रतयोगिने नित्यानन्दस्वरूपं तं नित्यानन्दस्वरूपं तं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुं वन्दे चिन्मय सद्गुरुम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे
ॐ चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः।
If we could have everyone please be seated, we're going to be starting momentarily.
Om Chinnmaya Sadgurave Namaha. 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 Om Chinnmaya Sadgurave Namaha.
Hari Om. Welcome to the Chinmaya Mission Rameshwaran. The Interfaith Dialogue will begin momentarily. I invite you all to please take your seats. Hari Om. Welcome to the Chinmaya Mission Rameshwaran. My name is Pranavi Depur and I will be your MC for the evening. I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules and coming to help us celebrate our Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda's birth centenary. One of the many events we have planned as part of the centenary celebration is tonight's Interfaith Dialogue. This evening, we have with us 8 brilliant panelists who are all knowledgeable in their faiths and the interfaith community. Prior to introducing our esteemed panelists, we have a short video on our Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda.
Not is to be controlled by the dictates of men, and too rational to accept the very existence of God.
Shri Gurave Namaha.
A fun-loving, intelligent young man, too charming to be ignored by the world, too rebellious to be controlled by the dictates of men, and too rational to accept the very existence of God. Voted second greatest saint of the millennium. Swami Chinmayananda. Born in 1916 in Kerala as Balkrishna Menon, with a happy disposition and love of reading, he pursued the liberal arts as a youth. Young Balan was inspired by the freedom movement in India and joined the youthful nationalists, writing and distributing leaflets and giving speeches to stir up national pride. He was a revolutionary who was sent to prison by the British. In 1945, Balan joined the National Herald as a sub-editor in New Delhi. As a rational journalist, ever concerned about the welfare of his countrymen, he soon decided to go to Rishikesh and expose what he thought of as the bluff of the Indian sadhus. He considered them leeches and social parasites. At Rishikesh, he met Swami Shivananda and his disciples, stayed at their ashram and watched them critically 24/7. He was impressed by the dynamism and the discipline of a spiritual life and came to know the science of Vedanta in a totally new light. He was convinced by its methodology and inspired by its ability to uncover the divinity hidden in every heart. Very soon, on the auspicious Shivratri of 1949, Swami Shivananda initiated Balakrishna Menon into sannyasa and named him Swami Chinmayananda. Thus began the journey of a legend, the making of a master, the founding of a life beyond lifetimes.
Formerly the lead pastor of the United Methodist Church in Irvine, Pastor Eves is also board president to a group the Progressive Christians Uniting. Currently, Pastor Eves is participating in the Abraham's Faith and Peacemaking Initiative, which focuses on uniting interfaith leaders for the cause of world peace. Please welcome Pastor Paige Eves. Next, representing Sikhism, we have Mr. Avinder Chavla. Currently, Mr. Chavla is serving as board member in Newport Mesa Interfaith Council for the past 3 years and the OC Sheriff's Advisory Interfaith Council. He is an active member of the Sikh Center of Orange County and has dedicated several years to the study and practicing of teachings of Guru Granth Sahib. Mr. Chavla is a civil engineer by profession and received his degree from Bangalore University in India. Please welcome Mr. Avinder Chavla.
My name is Avinday Chawla, and I'm very honored to be here this evening. And I would like to say something about what Sikh Americans believe in. In regards to, I am an engineer by profession, and I'm serving on few interfaiths. One is the Newport Mesa Interfaith Council, and also Orange County Sheriff Interfaith Advisory Council. Actually, about Sikh Americans have been Sikh Americans have been in the US almost for 125 years. There are approximately 700,000 Sikhs in the US, and Sikhism is the youngest and the fifth largest religion in the world. Signifying their commitment to their faith, Sikhs do not cut their hair and cover their heads with turbans. 99% of the people in the US with turban are Sikhs. Sikhs believe in one God, equality among all, freedom of religion, and community service. Guru Nanak Dev Ji founded Sikhism in the 15th century in modern day India with a simple message. There is one divine for all creation, a loving, formless creator, recognizable by all through meditation and service of humanity. This message of love of divine and equality among all of the creation, regardless of race, religion, gender, or background, was carried on by 9 successor gurus and enshrined in our scripture, that is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Sikhs are distinguished by their articles of faith formalized with the creation of Khalsa in 1699. These articles of faith kept by men and women, including kesh, that is uncut hair, covered by a turban, khara, a steel bracelet, kirpan, a religious sword, kach, undershorts, and a khanga, a calm. These articles of faith represents the Sikhs' commitment to equality, service, and justice. The over 30 million Sikhs worldwide are the followers of an independent, distinct faith. It's the world's 5th largest religion. Sikhs are defined by their belief in one God, equality, justice, and community. They are taught to live their values every day through the principles of worship and service. If you visit a Gurdwara, you will see a Sikh spirit and the values in action. Everyone, regardless of background, is welcome to take part in the worship and a langar, that is a free kitchen, where they are served by their fellow worshippers in an act of equality, humility, and services. If any one of you in the last October, there was a parliament of World Sikh Religion in Utah. There was a langar, that is a food distributed by Sikhs to more than 10,000 people for 3 days for all the participants. It was in October, 3rd week of October in Utah. The history of the Sikhs is that Sikhs came to United States in the 1890s to work in the lumber mills of the Pacific Northwest in the farms of California and to build the railroads that would connect America. Despite violence designed to keep them from making US their home, in 1912, the first Gurdwara was established in Stockton, California, and it continues to operate today. Sikh pioneers tried to help their country fulfill its promise of equality and opportunity for all who call it home. In 1923, Bhagat Singh Thind, a World War I veteran, went to Supreme Court to challenge laws which prevented Asians from becoming citizens. Following in his footsteps as a Sikh American pioneer, in 1957, Dalip Singh Saund became the first Asian Pacific American and the first Sikh American to serve the US Congress. At present, there are many Sikhs who have taken important positions in US. Nikki Haley is a Sikh by religion who is the governor of North Carolina. And we have, South Carolina, I'm sorry. And we have, last year we had elections in Canada, and at present in Canadian Congress, there are 3 Sikhs current in the federal government, being the Minister of Canada being a Sikh. Today, there are estimated 700,000 Sikhs in the United States with gurdwaras across the country. Despite their long history and contributions to the US, Sikh Americans have been the targets of discrimination, particularly the 9/11 terrorist attack. Balbir Singh Sodhi was shot and killed because of articles of faith, making him the first victim of a fatal 9/11 hate crime. On August 5th, 2012, 6 worshippers were killed in an attack in the Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, the deadliest attack on an American house of worship since the 1963 attack of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. Sikhs have also served in British Army, both in World War II and World War I and World War II, and won many military medals and also contributed to India's independence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chalwa. Our next speaker, we will have Mr. Manik Bujwala come up. He's a representative from Zoroastrianism.
Good evening. I thank the organizers of the Chinmaya mission for inviting me and for having this kind of conference in these times of difficulty that we all face. So my name, of course, Manik Bujwala, and I am a follower of the Zoroastrian religion. For those in the audience who may not know much about the Zoroastrian religion, it is a monotheistic, revealed religion founded over 4,000 or 4,500 years ago in Eastern Iran or Central Asia type of place. And our prophet's name was Zarathustra, that's the original name, but the Greek philosophers, who used to study his teachings like Plato and Socrates and all that, they pronounced his name as Zoroaster. And so that's why in Western literature you find Zoroastrianism is more common. The name that we use for God that Zarathustra gave is Ahura Mazda. And Ahura Mazda is basically a Lord of Wisdom or Wise Lord. And we believe that Ahura Mazda is the creator and source of all things, of the universe, of all goodness. Everything we have, directly or indirectly, is a gift from him. Directly, God created the universe, nature, including human beings, with physical and mental capabilities, emotions of love, and a free will. God created the air we breathe, the water we drink, the earth that holds us and grows the trees with the vegetables and fruits that we eat. We also believe that God established certain laws that govern the workings of the universe. Indirectly, the houses we live in, the wealth we acquire, the cooked and manufactured food that we consume, the inventions that we design for use in medicine, computers, agriculture, etc., the peace we create through dialogue are also gifts from God, because it is the physical, mental, and spiritual ability He gave us that has enabled us to do these things. We did not really create ourselves. We did not give ourselves all these capabilities. They are all gifts of God. In many of our prayers, we start with the words, Baname Yazad, Bakshayande, Bakshayasgar, Meherban, which means in the name of God, the giver of gifts, the merciful, etc., etc. Also in another prayer, Dua Nam Setayashne, we follow the above words by thanking God for giving us human beings the gift of intelligence and reasoning, and for sending Prophet Zarathustra, who taught us about right and wrong, about choosing the path of righteousness, and about spiritual matters. According to the law of Asha, which is similar to the Vedic Rita, interpreted as righteousness sometimes, which includes the consequences of our actions, which is the concept similar to the law of karma, concept in Hinduism. Happiness as the consequence of right thoughts, words, and deeds, and suffering for wrong thoughts and words and deeds. Many situations we face in life are created according to this law, and people exercising their free will to make a choice. Sometimes it is our choice, and sometimes it is another person's choice. The situations that I just mentioned are also God's gifts. And why is that? Because the consequences of our free will and the choice we make, either we get happiness or suffering. And these things, these consequences enable us to learn the right way of living and attaining happiness. So when we touch a hot stove, for example, by mistake or whatever, we get burned, we get a little unpleasant feeling. So we learn not to do that again, right? So that's the idea of these situations giving us the opportunity to learn and to advance in our spiritual life. Most of our prayers, okay, the other thing was that we also believe that we have to work towards perfection and creating happiness for everyone. In the very ancient language called Avesta, in which our prophet Zarathustra composed 5 sacred songs, which are known as the Gathas. And you will notice that the Avesta language is a very close sister language of Sanskrit, Vedic Sanskrit. Ushta Amai, Ushta Kamai, which means happiness to them who create happiness for others. This is one of the headings of one of the 5 songs. Most of our prayers, we also start with the words Khashnothara Haure Mazdao, meaning may Aura Mazda be pleased. So by following the right path of good thoughts, words, and actions, and the goal of creating happiness in the world and pleasing God, we offer our righteous actions in dealing with situations as our gifts to God. An example of a situation is when someone, say, cheats us in a service or in a business transaction. It will not automatically create some anger in our mind. And our ego and pride will try to push us to take revenge on the cheaters and hurt them. But if we listen to our religious teachings, that too much uncontrolled anger is wrong. Actually, anger and some of these things like discontentment, all the greed, etc., are considered as evil entities, that we have to fight against or stay away from. So, too much ego is wrong. Too much anger is wrong. If we intend to, instead, if we think rationally instead of ideologically or emotionally, then we can create a gift that we can offer to God. As you know, many of our saints and prophets, like Jesus Christ and others, they have taken on so much suffering in sacrifice, even though they have been punished, they have been tortured. Even the Sikh gurus, who were tortured by, some Mughal emperors, they, suffered a lot, but they did not think about a revengeful type of attitude. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bujwala. Our next will be Pastor Paige Eves. Okay.
Reverend is fine. Pastor Paige is alliterative, so we use it. The United Methodist Church is a Protestant expression of Christianity, some 250 years old. We began with a young Anglican priest, John Wesley, who felt so passionately about God that he set about reforming the Anglican Church and then ended up creating a whole new movement that spread from England to the Americas. My own great-great-grandfather was a circuit rider with the Methodist Episcopal Church South, which meant that he and his mule went from house to house, raising up the people and encouraging them, and then going on to the next place and planting the next church. So I'm happy to be here. I am so thankful for the invitation from the Chinmaya Mission. So as you know, Christians ground their faith, their issues of faith and life, their understanding of salvation and the redemption of the whole world in the ministry of Jesus the Christ, who we believe was fully human and fully divine. The first 4 books of the New Testament in the Bible are given to the Gospels, the good news. They tell these stories of Jesus the Christ and his earthly ministry, and they also witness to his death and to his resurrection. In those 4 books, we have this great picture of Jesus going from place to place throughout the first century world of ancient Palestine and preaching and teaching the good news of God. Now, he would always tell stories to these people who would follow him, and in the stories, he would reveal the nature of God, and he would also reveal God's intentions for the whole world, and he called God's intentions the kingdom of God. And as he went from place to place, he would invite people into this kingdom of God. And the invitation that he offered was so compelling, this place where people were free in body and in spirit, freed by God's grace to feel forgiven, and in their minds, freed from the oppression of ancient Rome to live fully into who they were meant to be. And this invitation was so compelling that more and more people followed him. And it continues to be such a compelling invitation that people choose to follow Jesus the Christ. So he would tell many stories, and one of the stories he told is called the parable of the talents. Now, a talent is really an ancient unit of money, and 1 talent would mean quite a lot of money to a servant. So I'm going to tell the story using dollars just to make it easier to understand. So the parable of the dollars. A master was traveling far away, and before he left, he gathered 3 servants to him to delegate responsibilities. To the first servant, he gave $5,000. And to the second servant, he gave $2,000. And to the third servant, he gave $1,000. And then he left. The first servant went out immediately and invested his $5,000 and doubled his money. The second servant also went out immediately and invested his $2,000 and doubled his money. And the third servant went out immediately and dug a very big hole and hid his $1,000 in a very safe place. After some time, the master returned and he called his servants to him and asked for a full account of his money. And the first servant said, I have turned your $5,000 into $10,000. And the master went, well done, good and faithful servant. You will be my partner in my enterprise. And the second servant came to him and said, look, I have turned your $2,000 into $4,000. And the master said again, good work, well done, good and faithful servant. You will also be invited as a partner in my enterprise. And the third servant came before him proudly holding his $1,000, blowing the dust off of it. And he said to him, Master, I know that you are a hard man. You have very high standards, and you have no patience for careless acts. I know that you demand excellence, and you have little margin for error. So I kept your $1,000, and I didn't do anything with it, but I give it back to you, and not 1 cent is missing. And the master was furious. He said, what kind of life is this to lead? That you take no chances at all? You say that I want the very best, but you have done even less than the least that you could have done, which is to take it to a bank, and then at least I would have some little amount of interest. But you have taken no chances at all. And he told the guards, take that $1,000 and give it to the man who has 10,000, and take this man who takes no chances and put him into the utter darkness. Now, when we hear the story, we think about the gifts, the talents that God has given us to build this kingdom of God that Jesus paints for us in his stories and his teachings. And we hear from this story that there is one way we might think about God. We might live with a fear of God, this God who is very ready to judge, very ready to punish. And if we live with that picture of God, then we will ourselves will live in fear, and we will begin to craft our lives around this understanding that God will never think I am worthy enough. I better just play it safe. The people around me will never think I am worthy enough. Maybe I'm not worthy enough myself. I should do nothing. Or we live into a vision of God who is good and generous and is more ready to reward than to punish. And in that case, we gratefully receive the gifts that God gives us, and we begin to multiply them. We receive God's grace, and we give it to others, and we double the grace that is available in the world. We receive God's love, and we give it to others, and we double the love that's available in the world. And thus we begin to build the kingdom of God. Later in our New Testament, the Apostle Paul writes a number of letters to churches that he starts all around the Mediterranean world. And he also speaks of gifts of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit. He writes a letter to the church that he started in Corinth. They seem to be arguing about which gift is the best gift to have. So who should be in charge of everyone based on the virtue of having the best gift? And Paul says, no, no, no. There are many gifts. There is only one Spirit. And there are many activities, but they all belong to the one God. We cannot all have the same gift, else how will we have everything that we need to build the kingdom of God? So you, each one, should embrace the gift that the Spirit has given you and make sure that it is activated and that you use it to the glory of God in building the kingdom. And this is how we participate in church community and in our action in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. Our next speaker is Mr. Mohammed Khan from Islam.
Assalamu alaikum. I give you all the greetings of peace. Namaste, namaste, shalom, Rabbi. Greetings of peace means also goodness, so saying namaste is like saying salam. We're 100 years later, and we're celebrating one of God's servants and saint that he put on this earth. And because of Swami Chinmayananda, he's united all these faiths to speak about what's important from each one's faith's point of view. Before I start, I'll do a chant. because there's a power of spirituality. As Swami has mentioned, it's not political revolution, but it's a spiritual one. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah, Allah, Subhanallah. Allah, Allah, Kareem Allah. Allah, Allah, Nurullah. I seek refuge with God from Satan who's cursed. In the name of God, who is the most compassionate, the most merciful. God, all glory is only yours. God, you are the light, and send your glory, your blessings, and your light on our gathering. Islam is derived from the root word salam, meaning peace. There's two types of peace. One is internal, and if we are fortunate that we catch the message from the prophets and the saints, we will find our way to the internal peace that they are our role models for. The second is the physical ramification of what's in the internal, which is peace on the outside through our behavior, our humbleness, our humility, our killing the ego, killing the very vices of jealousy, envy, etc., etc. And that is what we call a Muslim, one who gives his will or her will to God's will. And from my point of view, all human beings on this earth is Muslim. All human beings are giving their will to God's will according to the way they know how. Prayers are vowels and syllables. Thoughts have no language. Hearts have no language. When we chant to God, that's a divine language. So we all give our wills to God's will. You didn't decide what home you were born in. God might have put you in a Hindu home, in a Jain home, in a Christian home. I didn't choose my parents. I was born in a Muslim home. So how can we judge each other from something that we inherited, that was divinely determined? None of us determine which household we come from. So only a fool will look at others as the other. No saints looked at others as the other. The Quran tells us that you only know a few of the messengers on this earth. I have sent thousands of messengers on this earth. Thousands. And what we see in the Quran is only a handful. Prophets are saints, and there may be saints who are not prophets. Some prophets come with the book. Some saints don't. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said there are some people that they get so close to God that their hand becomes God's hand. Their tongue becomes God's tongue. Their action becomes God's action. Those are the saints of this earth. They are the awliya, the friends of God. They are friends of God that are known like the Swami, and there are friends of God that are unknown. God uses everyone who wants to be used as a tool of good on this earth. The soul, we cannot see. The body is just a container that's carrying something inside of us that is divine. And the container has an expirational date. But the soul moves on to the next world. And what all the saints tell us, and all the messengers tell us, that what you find in the next world is just a change of address. You find your deeds waiting for you. In the most beautiful way, if we used our life to be God's tool on this earth. I want to mention that Islam, prayer is essential. Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him, said everything that has a polish shines, and the polish of the heart is a remembrance of God. There are 99 attributes of God. We believe in God that's beyond everything. And there are 99 attributes: the merciful, the most kind, the all-knowing, the all-loving. And the goal is to live those attributes, to be those attributes. Prayer polishes our heart and cleans the soul. But what also the Swami in this mission stands for that I'm touched, Quran says God does not need your prayer if you pray 5 times a day. God does not need your prayer if your stomach is full and your neighbor's is empty. We're here to serve. Those are the enlightened. And we look at all the Muslim saints in India and all the Hindu saints in India. First, they had beautiful relationships amongst each other. Second, they are all servants. They served. Today you can go to Aligarh and go to some of the graves of the saints and you'll see all different faiths there. I want to conclude by saying that it's really an honor for me to be here. It's an honor to be part of the history of the saint that made this place a reality. And it's my first time really in a Hindu spiritual home. So it's like to me, it's like a spiritual birth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Our next will be Rabbi, if I got your last name, Stern. Stern, thank you. Rabbi Stern.
Hari Om. And I say to my Muslim friends, Assalamu alaikum. And I teach you the same greeting that we use in Jewish tradition, Shalom Aleichem. Peace be unto you. I'm delighted to be here today. As I said to some of the leaders of your congregation, the last time I was near this building, there was a bank across the street and this was a Christian church. So things have changed. It's a lovely facility and I wish you well, health and happiness here. And I'm delighted to see that there is a strong Hindu presence in Orange County. The only ashram I remember for many years was a small ashram somewhere down towards Laguna Beach in Laguna Canyon Road going down to that area. So welcome, and we hope to be able to work together with you. I'll tell you more about that a little later, perhaps. Judaism's fountain of wisdom and insight comes from the Hebrew Bible and the teachings of the rabbis as they interpret and teach what those verses mean. The phrase in Hebrew is hafochbo, hafochbo, hakolbo. Turn it over and over and over again. Everything is contained therein. So I'll share with you one of the elements of the story of creation. Some of you know the story, and that is that God created the universe. We know it today in 7 days, 6 days. On the fifth day, he created animal life of various kinds. On the sixth day, he created man. And he said to the beings he had created, Peru uravu lu et haaretz. Produce and go forth and fill the earth. And therein lies the rub for many of us. Some of us apparently interpreted that verse to mean we were therefore heirs to the earth. We were therefore in charge of, we were the administrators of. The earth was ours. We could do with it what we wanted for our own benefit, since we were given that opportunity. And so they translated the, fill the earth as we're going to take over. And we'll use the assets and values and fascinating resources of the earth, including animal life, for our own benefit. Opinion is there in Jewish tradition also, and that is, it wasn't that we were to fill the earth to conquer it. We were to fill the earth to be a part of it, to share it with the rest of God's creation, to protect it, to nourish it, to become one with it. And that contrast and interpretation is the kind of contrast I saw when I was invited to speak on the Swami's wonderful commentary today. In Jewish tradition, God created the universe, not we. And in Jewish tradition, God controls the universe, not we. And therefore, everything in the universe is God's. Diamonds, fruit, vegetation, animal life, jewels of various kinds, all God's. We have access to them, but they are not ours. Ultimately, they belong to God. And we say in a prayer almost every day, Baruch atah Adonai borei et hakol. Blessed are you, O Lord. You created everything. Everything. There are those who misunderstand that whole process in Jewish tradition and outside of Jewish tradition, who think that by hoarding possessions and building structures and amassing land, somehow they have succeeded in some fashion. They acquire for themselves what doesn't belong to them. And yet they are accorded power and status. They're looked for advice and leadership. God doesn't want that for us. God wants us to enjoy the fruit of the land, but to share it with others. We are the caretakers of the earth, not its exploiters. So there is a word in Hebrew tradition I'd like to share with you today. The word is Brit. Some of you know of a Jewish organization called B'nai B'rith, a Jewish fraternal organization, over 100 years old now. We are the people of the covenant, B'nai people, Brit covenant. The Hebrew word Brit is a key seminal concept in Jewish tradition. It is a covenant we make with God. And we're to live our lives in accordance with the agreement we reached with him, with that covenant. Part of the covenant is don't murder, don't steal, don't lie, don't bear false witness, honor your father and your mother. The covenant has its ritual and its liturgical aspects as well. But that's the covenant we follow because we reached that agreement with God, and that was the way we were going to honor him and praise him. That's what Judaism is all about. Judaism is all about keeping our promise, keeping our faith, being true to our ethics, applying the values of divine tradition to our lives here on earth. I want to share with you one of my favorite midrashim, one of my favorite Jewish legends. A man dies and goes to heaven. And as heaven opens before him, he sees this enormous palace, crusted with jewels of all kinds, sapphires and rubies and diamonds. The doors open wide, and he walks inside, and there in heaven, people were sitting at long tables, filled with all kinds of banquet food, the best steaks, the most wonderful pastries, the grandest fruits and vegetables. And then he goes to hell. And as the clouds part, there is this tremendous palace standing in front of it, crusted with diamonds and pearls and sapphires and rubies of various kinds. And its golden doors open, and he walks in, and the people in hell were sitting at these long banquet tables, laden with steaks and fruit and luscious grapes and all kinds of desserts, the most wonderful food you could imagine. If I knew enough about Indian food, I would mention that in the story, but I don't know that. They were sitting at the tables in hell with a fork tied to one arm and a spoon tied to the other, so that when they tried to scoop up the food and put it in their mouths, the food went over their shoulders. And so the people in hell were starving, frustrated, angry, upset. All of this wealth before them, and they couldn't participate and partake of it. And in heaven, they were doing the same. There were long spoons and knives attached to their arms. And if they had tried to put the food in their mouths, it would have gone over their shoulders. Instead, in heaven, I see people nodding. They know the ending to the story. That's wonderful. Terrific. Say it with me. They were feeding each other. That's correct. So what is heaven and hell in Jewish tradition? It isn't a place. It's our attitude towards the others we share this planet with. If we don't care for them, then we make of this world a hell in which to live. If we feed one another, it can be heaven. Thank you. I want to take another minute to share with you that I am the president of the Orange County Interfaith Network. And one of the reasons I said I'm so pleased to see Hindus in Orange County is because we represent all of the faith organizations in Orange County working together as a multi-faith organization, as an integrated and tolerant organization to do good in our communities and to avoid conflict and that kind of thing. And so I want to make you aware of the Orange County Interfaith Network. Some of the speakers have talked about interfaith councils, and the 11 interfaith councils that exist in Orange County are part of our organization. We founded them. And you're welcome to participate in their programs. If you're not aware of what there are, they're in Irvine, they're in Tustin, they're all around central Orange County. This next month, March 13th, is going to be our annual teen conference. High school teenagers come together from all religious traditions to share their traditions, to get to know each other, and to try to get away from thinking in stereotypical terms, thinking in angry terms, on misunderstandings. Our goal is to get people to understand and respect one another and relate to one another out of mutual respect. So if you have teenage children and you want them to participate in such an activity, please find out about the youth conference March 13th. We'd love to have some Hindu teenagers there this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Stern. Our next speaker is Mr. Girish Shah from Jainism.
Jai Jinendra. Good afternoon, and I want to thank Sonarban, Pradeep Bhai, and the organization here to invite me in this August body. These are all such a wonderful speakers. I'm glad that I'm almost last one to speak. That way I know what I need to do. Actually, when I was approached first by Pradeep Bhai and then by Sonarban with a request to present Jain views on the topic, I was quite hesitant in the beginning. In fact, I tried to avoid this and see if I can have somebody else in my place. I tried very hard. But I wasn't successful, as you can see from my presence here. Fundamentally, I know for a Jain, this is the subject itself is a pretty difficult and somewhat awkward. The concept of God, according to Jain, if you want to understand that, you need to understand the concept of the universe. we need to examine the nature of the universe. The religious experience of one who follows the Jain tradition cannot be properly understood without first grasping the theory of existence developed by that tradition. The Jain term for existent is Sat. Literally, it means being. And this term designates an entity comprised of three aspects. One is substance, which we call dravya. The other one is quality, which we call gun. And the third one is mode, which we call paryaya, which means the modifications. And the Jains divide all existence in the universe into three main categories. Those which are sentient, which you can identify as soul. The second category is those which are material or matter. And the third category is the one which is neither sentient nor material or nor matter. For our discussion today, we are going to ignore the third category as it is not significantly relevant for our talk here. The first category, which is sentient, refers to soul, or what we call jiva, or atma, which is characterized by consciousness. A soul is designated as substance, dravya, in that it is the locus of innumerable qualities such as knowledge, perception, bliss, energy. And the knowledge quality, for example, will increase and decrease or decrease. But there is never a time when the soul is without knowledge. Otherwise, it would become essentially, by definition, a non-soul. And that is a material atom, which is devoid of consciousness. Now, the states of imperfection and perfection, expressed by such terms as limited knowledge or omniscience, are in turn modes of that particular quality. The other qualities of the soul, similarly, and they are innumerable, similarly undergoes constant change. And these changes do not take place merely on the surface. Rather, their cumulative effect so transforms the soul that we can distinguish various states, bound and free, pure and impure, perfect and imperfect, and so on and so forth, and yet relate to one and the same soul. So the soul as dravya remain constant. The qualities of the soul remain constant, although it does go transformation. But the modes changes. And because the qualities are innumerable and their modes are infinite, stretching from the beginningless past to the endless future, it is not possible for an ordinary person to perceive existence in its entirety. Only an omniscient is able to perceive that in its entirety. And the omniscient is the one who is a pure consciousness, whose soul has totally shared all karmic particles, the matter which has bound from time immemorial. Those karmic particles are matter which were defiled, which were defiling and obscuring the perfect pure soul. And that perfect pure consciousness with perfect knowledge, perfect perception, and total bliss is to a Jain God. And all souls have a potential to attain that state of pure consciousness. The second category is matter, called in Jain terminology Pudgal, which integrates and disintegrates constantly. And that which has form and consists of individual atoms, and the smallest unit, the atom is the smallest unit which cannot be further divided. And conglomerate of atoms, which is known as skandha in Jain language, which can be seen, heard, smelt, tasted, and touched. Those are the attributes of matter. And the soul has none of them. The soul has no form. But during its worldly career, it is vested with a body which is made up of matter or material and becomes subject to an inflow of karmic particles which are also made up of matter. And these are the subtle material particles that are drawn towards his soul because of its worldly activities. But there is an exception here. There is Arihant, the ever-perfect soul, and the Siddha, the liberated one, who have dispelled the passions which provide the glue for the karmic dust or karmic particles or karmic matter. All souls are in karmic bondage to the universe. They go through a continuous cycle of death and rebirth in a personal evolution that can lead at last to moksha, what we call eternal release for some. However, theoretically, all souls can achieve that with some exceptions, but practically very few do. According to Jain, soul's involvement with the material universe on a vast scale has had no beginning, and it is likely to continue almost indefinitely. Furthermore, it is incorrect to imagine that the soul was once pure but later became defiled. It has always been impure, just as a seam of gold has always been embedded in the rock where it is found. This analogy to gold ore is taken one step further. Absolute purification may be achieved if the proper refining methods are applied. Therefore, all souls have been in this state of beginningless existence where soul possesses only one sense. According to Jain, there is two different strata of the universe. One which has got these particular conglomerates of souls, which one sense, the touch, that pervades the whole universe. And they die and take rebirth in the same environment. Their existence is forever in that particular environment where they are only going to find one touch, one sense of touch, rather. They are so tiny and indifferentiated that they lack even individual bodies. There are large clusters of them are born at the same time as colonies, which die a fraction of a second later, same as colonies. These colonies are said to pervade every corner of the universe. In Jain terminology, that existence is known as Nigod. Now here these souls are destined to this existence until the other strata, which has got all senses from one sense to the five senses of animals, plants, etc. Of those different strata, one soul achieved salvation at that time. One soul from that particular substrata comes out of that existence. From this mundane existence of eternal darkness, the progress is possible and available. From transmigration, liberation, and final salvation. That final salvation in Jain terminology is called Siddha, which means the accomplished one. The one who has accomplished the goal of liberation, whom Jain pray as God. Every soul who got this chance of progress towards final liberation, which is moksha, which was not possible without coming out of that Nigod existence. Because their existence ever so, depending on that particular, this soul which was outside of that Nigod, attaining the final salvation. So that soul is ever so grateful to that particular Siddha or the liberator one, for that gift that one received. One must follow the path of purification, and by becoming the Siddha or the liberated one, again facilitate the other souls who are forever in that particular state of God. And the first salutation or obeisance is to the Arihant, the ever-perfect spiritual victor, who we call God, quote unquote, is the one who shows us the path of purification. And that is the gift to us. And we surrender at his lotus feet with total devotion and follow with unshakable faith, which will be our gift to him. Arihant is the one to whom we offer our first salutation, was born as a human, and with intense and rigorous meditation, renouncing all worldly possessions, followed the path of purification, which had been followed by innumerable arihants in the past, and became ever perfect, and eventually a siddha, and enjoyed total bliss forever. So basically, when we follow the path of purification shown by arihants, and eventually reach a state of pure consciousness ourselves, that will be our gift for the grace from God. And with the grace of God and Guru, or the teacher, we shall attain our goal of infinite bliss forever. Let's all pray to that pure consciousness so we all can realize our potential of perfect knowledge and eternal bliss. Jai Jirendra. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Our next speaker is Reverend Nichelle Madrigal, representing Buddhism.
Hello. Namaste. Thank you all for your hospitality today. A wonderful gift, I'm sure, part of your tradition. And thank you for this opportunity to speak on this important subject, the gifts that we have and the gifts that we share. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very happy that my friend Rabbi Stern is here with me as well. We have a long history of working together on interfaith projects, including the Interfaith Youth Forum he mentioned earlier, which we've hosted at my Buddhist temple in Yorba Linda a couple of times. So I hope you can participate in that. I'm a practitioner and an ordained priest of the Shinyo Buddhist tradition, and I'm sure you have vast knowledge of Buddhism among all of you here. There's probably not many of you who know much about the Shinyo Buddhist tradition. It's a Japanese tradition, and it was started rather recently in 1936 by the Buddhist master, or Acharya, Master Shinjo Ito, and his wife, Tomoji Ito. And it is an international spiritual community, and we have right now about 1 million members worldwide. And Master Shinjo trained in the Shingon tradition of Buddhism. So it's kind of a combination of esoteric Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. That is our origins. And if you're familiar with any type of Mahayana Buddhism, you'll know that the important thing that we focus our efforts on in our practice is on serving others, serving those in our immediate surroundings, serving those in our community, serving those we may not even know. And so that comes in various forms. And what I'd like to share with you a little bit about is our devotional practices. And these are based on the Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. In his final teachings, we call the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, or the Great Nirvana Sutra. So our devotional practices include sutra chanting every day, Dana Paramita, or the sharing of the Dharma or the teachings of the Buddha, making offerings, and offering ourselves in service to others. We also practice focused meditation, or something earlier mentioned called sesshin training. It's a Japanese word, which means to encounter the Buddha with your Buddha nature. And this is something that helps us to really polish our own character. I'm a facilitator or a spiritual guide, so this meditation training is something very special to me. I practice it regularly, and it's something that really helps us to discover what our gifts are. Sometimes we observe the world rather subjectively, depending on our karmic tendencies. And so the nature of this meditation training is to help us see ourselves more objectively through the guidance that's offered to us. So the other things that we do in our devotional practices include the study of Dharma, and we attend services. And the services are opportunities for us to also make offerings and share our gifts during that time. Sometimes we offer Dharma talks. Sometimes the gifts include serving others voluntarily, like some of you are doing today. So those are all opportunities for us to enhance our goodness, our awareness of the needs of others, and those are things that we're invited to do on a regular basis. All of these things, all of these efforts that we make in our daily life generate something we call merit. And that merit is that gift, I believe, that is being referred to today by all of our wonderful speakers. And the merit that we generate through our practice of Buddhism is something that then we wish to have shared with other people. And so in our daily sutra chanting, especially in the evening, hopefully we spent the entire day performing acts that benefit others. And at the end of the day, what we do is we recite a sutra or a mantra. And that prayer, as it were, is actually roughly translated. It states that, may the merit I generated today be shared with whomever needs it. And it sounds like this. It's in Japanese, because most of the chanting that we do is in Japanese. 願わくはこの功徳をもってあまねく一切に及ぼし、我らと主情と皆共に仏道上善. So every evening when I finish my chanting, that's one of the last things that I say, and we send that merit out into the universe to be shared with whomever is in need of it. And that aspiration to do so is really, we believe, coming from what is known as our Buddha nature, or the seed of goodness that each one of us has. The Buddha Shakyamuni taught about this in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. And so that innate goodness is what we're constantly trying to polish and help to let it blossom, as it were, through our practices. My spiritual teachers, Master Shinjo and Master Tomoji Ito, and their successor, Her Holiness Shinso Ito, were wonderful examples of people that were awakened to this important role that they had. And so they often shared this beautiful passage that I'd like to read you right now. It is from the chapter 23 of the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, the Bodhisattva Lion's Roar. It says, "O good disciples, a candle burns away with each passing moment, yet within those moments it dispels the darkness. Those who aspire to master the way through various means, such as meditation, should be like the candle. Through concerted effort in each passing moment, it is possible to develop and bring out one's Buddhahood." So these are the encouraging words that we receive from the Buddha Shakyamuni, and we've learned them, and then we hope to carry them out each and every day by, in a sense, diminishing ourselves or making humble gestures and practices while trying to light the darkness for other people. I'm very grateful again for this opportunity to speak to you. I wanted to share that passage and also that chant that I recited just a moment ago, and to let you know that how meaningful this is to me to see this wonderful collective group of people sharing and discussing what a spiritual gift is and how important it is to share it with those in the universe that we may encounter or may not encounter. The world and all its beings and everything in it is interconnected. So everything that I do has an impact on every one of you and those in other parts of the world. So having that awareness, I reflect on what I do in daily life as maybe being not very significant, but it can be if we have the intention to benefit the other sentient beings throughout the world. And so I'm going to close with offering one more chant. Hopefully it's okay with you. It is the mantra of benevolence and liberation, and it has a very beautiful sound. So I hope that it's something that you might enjoy and take home with you. It is my offering to you. Chikuno juno gore ju no maku samanda basarada sendan makarosha daya soataya untarata ganman no maku samanda basarada sendan makarosha daya soataya untarata kanman no maku samanda basarada sendan makarosha daya soataya untarata kanman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Madrigal.
Today, and our Swami Chinmayananda, the founder of Chinmaya Mission, he had given this beautiful message to us. What you have is his gift to you, which includes her gift to you, because God can be male or female also, we don't know. And what you do with what you have is your gift to her or him, it doesn't matter. You know, when I turned 50, somebody gave me an Amazon card as a gift card. What I did with that card is my gift to myself. When she gave that card to me and said, Swamiji, you can buy anything you want with this card. So she did her work of giving me that gift card. But when I went to the website and I ordered myself whatever I wanted, and when I received those packages from Amazon, not through any drone or something, somebody brought it. When I received it, I was so happy. Why? I know what is inside. So many times our gifts are
sometimes surprise. Most of the time we would like our gifts to be a surprise, right? But many times when we receive a gift, we would like to have something which we would like to have. For a person who has no hair at all, if you give him a comb, it's an insult. But he kept on carrying that because somebody gave it to him with a lot of love, and somebody asked him, "Why are you carrying that comb?" He said, I don't want to be part with that. The gift that is given to me as a card is something which is good gesture. But what I do with that card, what I order with that card is decided. So also, God's gift is something which, as the earlier speaker has said, is not decided by us. Mr. Mohammed Khan had made that point. Which parent I should be born to, which set of people, or which parents, or with who as my brother, which religion or which country, I have no choice. But at the same time, when we thus received it from the Lord, we should not complain about that. God, you didn't do a good job with me. No. Whatever he has given has to be accepted. That's the first message that we have to understand. Accept what is given. Many times we still, even after 60, 75, we still complain about, I should not have born in this country, I should not have born in this family, or I should not have born to this particular religion, whatever. No, he has decided. But then, as Gurudev has rightly put it, what you have been given, accept it. And with whatever that is given to you, what best you can do, that is the gift you give to yourself first. And when you give to yourself and you enjoy that, that is how you make the world at peace, keep the world at peace. If you yourself are unhappy with yourself, you yourself is complaining all the time about who you are, how can you make anybody happy? So it is said in our Shastras that human birth itself is a gift. We could have been born as a crocodile or a fish, but we are born as a human being. The very gift that we have is we can make choices, we can think, we can decide, we can plan, we can change, we can organize. We can make some difference in the world where we live in. We make a difference in the way we live, the way we interact with the people. So this is only a great gift. This is a great gift given to only human beings. The birds and the animals and the insects have not done any single improvement into this world. They lived for millions of years without any change. Have you seen birds now building their nests in fiberglass? With a glass door, reinforced cement? No. But humans have done it. They can communicate. Humans have developed such an extent they can communicate even without anything. Recently, I got a watch which connects to my phone. So when somebody called, I started talking. Hello, how are you? So somebody said, what is it you're doing? And I'm talking to my watch. But actually, I'm talking to somebody thousands of miles away. Is it not a gift that human beings have created to us? So religion as such should never be against this progress. Gurudev always emphasized, Swami Chinmayananda emphasized, that science and spirituality should go together. The science and spirituality both are endeavoring on the same thing to improve. While science is trying to change and make the external world comfortable, the spirituality is doing the internal world comfortable. And both of them have to go along with each other. Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharha. where Krishna, the spiritual consciousness, is, and where the man of action, Arjuna, is, progress and success is for sure. If one alone is there and the other is ignored or boycotted, we live in the caves then. That is not what the vision of Hinduism is all about. It is seeking the progress at all around, in the environment in which we live, as well as the inner progress in the form of happiness and peace and togetherness and compassion and love and brotherhood. So Hinduism should be seen in a different angle. That is exactly what Swami Chinmayananda brought to the world. Don't forsake the human endeavors. Don't consider that Hinduism is all about lying or staying in a solitude, rejecting everything. In a higher level of consciousness, yes, that is possible. But as you and I live in everyday world, we cannot reject and ignore what we are supposed to do, whether to the family or to the community or to the people. So the gift that I have received as a human intelligence, you can make choices. We can improve our knowledge. We can improve our lifestyle. That is a must. That is the gift that we give back to this Lord. It is said that if you are born poor, it is God's mistake. If you remain poor, it is your mistake. You cannot condemn anybody. You cannot blame anyone for that. If you are born stupid, it is his mistake. You remain stupid, it is your mistake. It is dilemma that he had 3 boys who are born at the same time, so all of them are eligible to become the kings next to him. So he decided to test them to find out who would be the eligible candidate for become the king. So therefore, what he did was gave to all of them, as one other speaker has said, the $1,000, how much? $5,000. And said, and he also gave a mansion. To the market and brought lot of big loads of grass and filled the whole house with grass. The 3rd boy, I won't tell you what he did. Let's come to the story. First boy was, what is it filled with? Filth. The 2nd boy, grass. So the king came after a week or so and then said, okay, let me see what you have done. So the first boy, he opened the door. He did not even open the door. Even before that, the king went like, what did you do with your house? Yeah, I filled it. Don't open the door, please. I know what it is inside. And he said, I didn't spend any money at all. Yeah, you don't need to spend any money at all. That I understand that. He moved away to the 2nd house. And since he had filled with what? Grass and 1 week old. What would have been the condition there? That also rotten, smelling. And so even as he opened the door, the king jumped out. What did you do? Grass. He went to the 3rd boy's house. The boy smiled and opened the door. There was nothing. Absolutely empty. So the king looked at him and, what did you do with your $2,000? Come inside. It was dark, completely dark. So the king said, you filled it with darkness? No. Please come. And he took the king slowly and gave him a matchbox. He struck the match, lit a small candle there. And the candle lit, and the light spread the entire house. And the boy said, I filled the house with your help with light. And I spent $1 for this. Now you see, we must think in terms of how to bring the maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time while we are here. We are not given infinite time to do that. So that light representing knowledge. What we bring to ourselves as a light is the correct knowledge, the correct understanding and awareness. And that's what that lamp represents, and that's what the Jyoti which we are carrying on as Gurudev's light, the Chinmaya Jyoti. So what we here realize is we are, as human beings, given that gift of able to learn, able to grow, able to expand our consciousness, reach out to maximum number of people. And that knowledge that we possess, that we knowledge of our own true being, that very knowledge that we can own, realize, and spread, that is the gift, the best gift that we can give to the Lord, for which we are born. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm so happy that all of you expressed your viewpoints, and everything was so interesting. I was taking notes after notes, thinking that I will sometime I can refer to it and get more from what you have said. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much.
One second. Are they working on the tables now? Yeah. This one? Yep, got it. Okay. So the next portion is going to be a brief question and answer session. There were several questions posed that we wanted to present to the different speakers. I took the opportunity to try to look at some of the questions, and in the interest of time and efficiency, was going to try to bring certain questions that I felt might be perhaps more interesting or relevant for certain members of the speaking staff, more so than others. This is by no means limited. If anyone has something that they think would be of interest or relevant for them to please, by all means, speak up. So there's 4 questions we're going to try to hopefully get through. We have about 20 minutes or so we'll try to keep it somewhat quick. One of the themes that we've been talking about is, what do we do with the gifts that we're given? And obviously that's the main topic of the night. There's a church here in Irvine that has a little, there's frequently different quotes that they'll put on their placards outside, and I always would drive by it. And there was one, I was going through a particularly rough month with my practice, and there was a quote that said something to the effect of, adversity can make you either better or bitter. And I really liked that, the play on words. And so I thought that was something that I wanted to mention. And something we talk about a lot here. I teach some of the high school students here at Chinmaya Mission. One of the things we talk about is the art of right contact. And the example that is given is you can use a sharpening stone on a knife, and either the sharpening stone can sharpen the knife or it can dull the blade, depending on the angle of the knife. And so my question is with this gift, in this restless world with all the seeming adversity that's going on, how does your faith and how do you sort of address this when you're talking to your relative parishioners and so forth? So for example, I was curious with somewhat all of the violence that seemed to be going on in the world, especially with, let's say, in Jainism and in Buddhism, which has obviously a very strong emphasis on nonviolence. How do you address parishioners who perhaps are looking to you for guidance in a world where sometimes it seems that violence needs to be met with violence? And I was thinking about this in the sense of things that are going on in Myanmar, in some of the conflicts that are that were going on in Sri Lanka, things of this nature. How does nonviolence fit with the current events of the world and everything that's going on? I was just wondering if you could comment on that.
Okay, thank you. Ahimsa, or nonviolence, is something, of course, that is very important in the Buddhist tradition and many traditions, I'm sure. There's a situation or many situations in the world where the violence that's experienced is something very challenging for people. It is very difficult to grasp where it comes from, why it exists, and what can be done about it. Unless one is able to exemplify their faith and embody the values and the important teachings of their, in my case, my Buddhist masters, then I don't find that I can live honestly. So if I'm professing something like nonviolence, then I have to demonstrate that and embody that in my daily life. I have a friend that is going to give an experience of practice at our temple. He's going to share his experience, and he's a young man, but he was bullied, extremely bullied. He's from Japan. It's a very commonplace thing that happens, to the degree that many Japanese young people commit suicide or actually take their own lives on a regular basis because of the bullying that's done. He actually tried to reflect on this and what was the meaning, what was the purpose of him going through this, why, a question of why. And through his meditation practice, he felt that he got to a point where he could no longer pray, he could no longer understand it. He reached his limit, but then there was a turning point for him, and he turned towards his spiritual teachers, their images or their pictures, thoughts of them on a daily basis, just trying to make the effort to call out to them, to take refuge in the Buddha's teachings. And through that experience, gradually, he was able to make his way through his situation or persevere through it, not by just asking why, but instead trying to turn the situation around, trying to harmonize with the people that he was with. And that's a very difficult thing to do. Harmonizing with people who are physically or verbally attacking you is something very, very painful, I'm sure. But he tried to see that this was a reflection of their karma and his karma. And in accepting that, he was able to pray for them, to pray for our foes, as it were. Not just our friends, but also our foes is something very hard, but something very important that we must do to heal the past, the present, and the future. So that prayer and that action, I think, are very essential. And this is one example of that. So I hope that helps.
I didn't know if Mr. Shah had anything he would like to add with the Jain philosophy of ahimsa. Not to put you on the spot if...
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was, with all of the current events happening and with, the world seemingly, oftentimes at the brink of war in one way, shape, or form, and all over many spots of the world, when you have young people or other parishioners, so to speak, that come and we're preaching ahimsa or nonviolence, and especially Jainism is, that's a very fundamental cornerstone of your faith, my understanding anyway. How do you address that in the light of it seemingly seems that oftentimes violence is being used to counter violence, and how is there any conflict with that, or how do you address violence in the world, and how do you address that in light of your faith?
Mahatma Gandhi once have saying, quoted, have been saying that an eye for an eye. If you follow that, the world will become blind pretty soon. So, multiplicity of views has a fundamental basis that nobody in this world, no soul, no living being will like to have any sorrow or pain. And if you don't like that, inflict on others. And Mahavir said that you torment or you give pain to others is actually you're tormenting yourself. The pain is yourself also, which means whatever you do, it's going to come back to you. It's Newton's natural law. What you do to others, it's going to come back to you in any form. So, for your own sake, that you should behave the way in which you want to be towards you. So people who would want to have peace and happiness, they should be at peace and happy. And that will be the message that Jainism gives to the multiplicity of views and non-violence in action and acceptance of others' viewpoint. That's what.
Very good. Thank you. I'd also actually like to pose the similar question to Mr. Khan, because obviously as a representative of Islam and with the geopolitical situation, I'm sure, as you mentioned earlier, Islam comes from the word salam, which is peace be with you. And we frequently hear after various things that are occurring in the current events, there's a lot of venom going out towards the Muslim community, obviously, from various politicians and so forth. Muslim councils are coming on saying it's a peaceful faith. How do you address the seeming dichotomy, or what is happening, or how do we address this seeming paradox? If you could comment, that would be great.
There's a verse in the Quran, the 41st chapter, 33rd verse, that says, "Do you think good and evil deeds are alike? Repel evil with good, and he who is your enemy will become your dearest friend." That's what the message stands for. That's what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, never killed anyone. The first 13 years of his life was a life of nonviolence. Prophet Muhammad was a messenger for 23 years. Most of his life was a life of nonviolence. Why is there strife? My conjecture is as good as your conjecture, but I will give you my conjecture. Syria, various places around the globe, Syria, Iraq, if we look at those places for now, if you're cooking in a pressure cooker and you pop off the lid, pandemonium. You have chaos, and the spiritual saints, their messages are not coming across. Because as the Swami mentioned when we watched the movie, that it's not a political revolution, it's a spiritual revolution. And what's missing is when you have tyranny, and when you have people who are hungry, and people who don't have a system, they're not guided by saintly types of people to make the change of liberation and the reaction to tyranny and the reaction to the worldly pain should be a spiritual reaction, not a worldly reaction. So ISIS and all these groups, they're like gangsters, mafia. They blasphemize religion by trying to use, the Quran was never written to be a political platform. It's a spiritual platform. But when someone says, I'm going to bring my version of Sharia, and we are right and everyone else is wrong, and there's a violent means to achieve that, then they didn't connect to the saints or Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And it goes back to what Swami Chinmayananda has said. It's not a political revolution, it's a spiritual revolution. And when we forget that, you get this chaos. And no religion has a monopoly on extremism. Extremists find their ways, and in different eras and different times and different place. And in every faith can be stigmatized by those extremists. And that is, to me, that's the real tragedy. Buddhism is very peaceful. What's happening in Burma doesn't represent the beauty of Buddhism. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That actually is a perfect segue for our next question, where we were talking about the solution, and the quote that you've mentioned on several occasions now is that there is a spiritual solution to the world's problems, not necessarily a political solution. And so it makes you wonder of today, who are going to university, who are learning from very college professors, who are oftentimes very steeped in secular humanism, somewhat Marxist philosophy. And so I wonder, do you feel that the atheistic philosophy is something that can bring about positive change? Because many of these young people feel like religion is really part of the problem. That if we just got rid of, the churches and the Crusades and ISIS and this and this and this, that, we would all be Canada and we would just be perfect, or wherever. And so I would actually especially like to address this to Rabbi Stern and also to Pastor Eves. With Rabbi Stern in particular, I have many friends who are of Jewish origin, and many of them identify themselves as Jews, but they don't really do anything, as far as I can tell, externally anyway. In terms of the religious piece, they're quote unquote cultural Jews. And then also with the Christian church, I am also very aware that many young people are leaving in droves. I've spent time in Christian monasteries, and the Catholics can't recruit enough priests, and they're having to import them. And there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the church and the solutions that they're presenting in the modern world, and they're turning to secular humanism, New Age, things of this nature. So I was wondering if maybe both of you would be able to speak briefly on those topics. Thank you.
What you say? Testing? Yes. What you say about young people fleeing organized religion is quite true, not only in Judaism, but in everybody's religion I talk to. A young man once spoke to a rabbi and complained about the fact that he didn't agree with organized religion. And the rabbi said, "Oh, that's terrific. Come to my synagogue. It's the most disorganized there is." I think part of it has to do with the fact that we've all become Americanized. And that's part of the benefit of being in America. Part of the greatness of America is that we're all treated very much the same and we have the same opportunities and we can take advantage of them. And part of the disadvantage of America. I often feel that I'm fighting an uphill fight, that my synagogue is fighting an uphill fight, that my religion is fighting an uphill fight against music and movies and, you know, contemporary values and so on and so forth, which inundate our children. Part of it has to, at least in Jewish tradition, has to do with the notion that in adjusting to American life, we began to, I say this with no sense of impropriety or misunderstanding, but we began to adopt Protestant Christian ways of doing things. And so more and more things were passed off to the synagogue rather than the home. We used to have special meals in the home that became part of the synagogue. Special celebrations in the home became part of the synagogue. Holiday observances in the home, part of the synagogue, and so on and so forth. And we lost the family influence. So I think the great part of the problem is this juncture between kids and their parents and kids and their tradition and kids and their faith and kids and their history and so on. So we're fighting that fight. I'm not at all convinced that religion is the problem. As far as I'm concerned, religion is the solution. It's the only part of our society consistently that talks about moral values, that talks about doing the right thing, that talks about helping your fellow man, that talks about respecting one another, talks about civil conduct. That's our message constantly, constantly, constantly. Not explosions, not violence, not action, you know. They're not getting it anywhere else, but they're also not listening, so I don't know how to solve that problem. There is something in Judaism that takes exception to your dichotomy. So let me just put it out there and you guys can talk about it if you want. I want you to know that in Judaism, there is no word for religion. If there is no word for it, my presumption is that it's not a concept, it's part of Jewish tradition. Everything is part of Judaism. Family life, the way you treat your employers, the way you deal with your neighbors, the way you deal with school systems, the way you deal with the police, and the way you deal with your government. So politics and religion are not dichotomous. Our religion, at least, says all of these things ought to somehow express the values and traditions of your faith. And when politics doesn't, change the government. When the police don't, change the government. When the employees don't and industries don't, change the industry. But there's no distinction between the two. Our religion teaches us when you go out into the world, whatever you do, in whatever setting, and with whatever persons, there ought to be some sense of God's presence in that action. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I began at a church, previous to the church I served in Irvine, I served in the Crescenta Valley. And when you head down the 2, there's a sign that says, the highway's being cleaned up by Atheists United. And when I first got there, I was so annoyed by that. Like, how did the atheists get to the highway cleanup before any of the churches in town? And what are they united about anyway? And then over time, I met some of the United Atheists, and I met them in the context of making this area a better place, actually. We participated in numerous vigils for peace, and when there was a tragedy with a young person in town, my atheist friends were also part of the people who gathered to figure out how this town could be more attentive to the needs of its young people. So I can't categorize every atheist as irrelevant and not caring at all. I did wonder, I did ask them questions. So what they had not studied secular humanism. I asked them about the philosophers that might inform their opinion, and they had not. They had really only stepped away from religion. And so the gatherings that they had when they were uniting were really about what they were against, and very little of the time what they were for, beyond cleaning up the trash on the highway. And I thought, well, how sad. Who would want to go to a gathering where you spent all of your time deciding what you were against and being mad at, maybe a predominantly Christian expression in politics, and really wanting to fight against that. And it created a lot of bitterness and anger. And I do know that the institutional church, has not been the model that draws our young people, and it breaks our hearts. It does break our hearts because we continue to feel like the message of Jesus and the invitation to this kingdom of God in which everyone has enough and doesn't need to fight. We continue to think that the invitation and the story that we tell is compelling. And so when young people choose a different story, like an ISIS story, you think, oh my heavens, I missed this opportunity to tell this story that would lend a young person the strength and depth of identity, where they could really plant themselves in that and get the tattoo and go into spiritual battle to make the world a better place. When you have a religious institution, as you know, what you can provide to young people are mentors and a system of meaning, and then also mentors, people who live into that system of meaning. And so as adults in religious institutions, it just becomes so crucial for us to be completely intentional at every moment about how we are living our faith. It becomes so crucial for us to learn how to articulate what we are doing. I know in our church now, there's a lot of beautiful, quiet discipleship going on. And, there's a 95-year-old woman who today is dying. And I know I've visited her, and I know a number of people have visited her along the way. And until 3 months ago, she was still very active in worship and part of our Bible studies. And there's at no point did she need to step away from the church and feel useful or irrelevant, but at every point she has been available to younger people in our church as a mentor and as an example of faith. And I've seen 2 or 3 people pass away recently who I could say, wow, they really lived their lives, and I hope young people saw how faithfully they lived their lives. So I don't want our young people to leave the church and have nothing, because what happens when there's pain? What happens when there's suffering? They have no way to think of pain as a learning experience or as redemptive, and no way to understand suffering and their role in alleviating suffering. And it seems like such an empty and awful place. So I think we'll all continue then to try to shape an invitation that is relevant and shows Jesus' way of compassion and justice.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, there are a few more questions, but unfortunately we have run over, so I'm going to have to cut those questions a bit short. In Hindu philosophy, there is a concept, or originally Hinduism, Hinduism is obviously a foreign term that was given to the religion of the people of what we now call Pakistan and India. But ultimately it is called the Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal truth. And I think here we see a very good example of when people are looking at their various faiths through their heart and not looking for that which divides us, but that which unites us. I think that we can all have a hopeful future, that we can find peace and ultimately the universal truth that underlies all these faiths. So I'd like to thank everyone for being with us. It was wonderful hearing all of you. And I'd like to invite everyone. There is a celebration going on. It's called a yatra, which is a prayer service of sorts that's going to follow this. And all of the speakers who have come are also welcome to join us as well. And I think our Swamiji is going to give a little bit more information on that. So thank you very much. And thank you all for coming out.
Today we have actually the next program that is scheduled is at 7 o'clock. We have the talk on meditation by Swami Chinmayananda in the video talk that is going to happen at 7 o'clock. So those who would like to stay back and be part of that, you're welcome. The invited guests as well, if you have the time, please do join us. It's an interesting talk on the chapter 6, which is you have the flyers with you, so brochures which say about the meditation program. Also, at the end of the next week, Saturday, you're welcome to join us. We do conclude most of our events with pledge. So we please stand as a respect to that pledge if you can, and put your right hand on the chest. There is a card there.
We serve as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever right to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep courage and wisdom. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you all.
Thank you very, very much. I think Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda, would be very much smiling at his birthday celebration. What a wonderful candle. A candle that will never go out, the knowledge of light. And I think everyone is leaving with a wonderful gift, birthday gift, and that's really thanks to the panelists. Thank you for sharing your very rich words, and by teaching by example and the reverence that you've shown to every other religion besides you. That's really a great gift, and you've taught all of us that the gift is that what we have been given we should be thankful for, we should multiply it, not hoard it, but we should share it, and that when we share it, it should be for the good of others, to feed, love, and care. I think we all felt for these 2+ hours that that was possible, and you all did give us that gift. And we were reminded that it is a gift to us, and we should do and give it to others. And we should do that no matter what their faith is. Thank you so very much. And thank you for being the audience. Without an audience, there would be talking to no one. So thank you for having open minds and coming and doing this. This was the very first time for Chinmaya Mission to have the Interfaith Conference here. And thanks to all of you, it was a success. And I know it's a first for all of us, and I'm glad we could do that together. Hari Om.